Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight on this beautiful evening. First thing is, there are two exits in the back of the room. That one goes directly outside. That one goes into the hallway and out the door. This goes through my office. You can get out, if you need to get out in emergency, into the hall and out. That's closet, so don't go that way. We have a rather lengthy agenda tonight, so we'll get started. The first thing on our agenda is a public hearing on the Dunning Street Drainage District. It's just a little bit about what this is about. There is a housing development that is in the process of being built on Dunning Street. We are proposing that the stormwater management system for this development be a somewhat different sort of drainage system. It will be all underground, so above ground, it will look like just a grassy area instead of what normally is a pond, retention pond for stormwater. It's sort of complicated, and why we want to establish a district is because it will take some ongoing maintenance, and the HOA, there are two ways to maintain it. There could be an HOA that would be in charge of maintaining the district, but quite often we find that they don't do it adequately. And so we're proposing that we form a district. So the homes in that development, and only the homes in that development, will pay a tax for the maintenance and upkeep of that district. That money will be put into a reserve, and then when we need to when it needs to be maintained, our highway department will actually do the maintenance. Again, just to be clear, it will only be the people in that district that will be part of the district. So I will open a public hearing at 6:04, and anyone wishing to speak on that, please feel free to do so. Nobody? Okay, we'll close that public hearing then at 6:05. The next public hearing we have is on the water line extension by Clifton Park Water Authority for the Mountain View Estates development. Just quickly, this is a housing development on Route 9. It's little less than 120 acres. There are 119 homes going to be built on about half that property. The other half is a conservation easement that was approved by the former town board. The conservation easement is on East Line Road, so if anybody's familiar with that place, it's where you drive down East Line Road and there's a big farm. This is a 60-acre conservation easement. It's farmland, and it preserves that land from development in perpetuity. So this is, the public hearing, though, is to extend water to that development so that it can proceed. So we'll open that public hearing at 6:05. Anyone wishing to speak, please step up.
It's not on Route 9.
No, it's on East Line Road. Tom? Yeah, step up to the podium, please.
Yes, it's me. Okay. Initially, this proposal is quite voluminous, got about 80 pages of data. A lot of it has to do with engineering aspects relating to whether or
Can
not...
I just interrupt you for a second? You need to say your name for the
Oh, I'm sorry.
record. I'm sorry.
My name's Tom McDermott. I live at 19 Avondale Drive, right here in Malta.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome. This proposal is quite voluminous. I went through most of it. A lot of it is engineering data I can't relate to. However, there is some characteristic flaws in it that I think I need to point out. Initially, in Exhibit B, which is titled Fairway Estates Plan Development District, which doesn't sound like Meadowview to me, but that's the title of the exhibit. On there, it has on page 20 of 69, I won't bore you with all this detail, but there's some key points I need to make. It offers a a motion by the planning board to proceed with the development. And that motion was approved at some point in May 2023, but it expired in September. So based on the data provided, the engineering group and the Mitchell Farm doesn't have authority to proceed. Now, I went back to see if it was a clerical error. And yes, in fact, they did get an extension on 12/19/23 to proceed, but that expired 3/24/24. So right now, the planning board hasn't approved this group to proceed with their proposal. So consequently, I don't understand how we can have a public hearing without that being taken care of. Okay, I'll proceed, or should we wait?
No, go ahead.
Okay, there's a number of flaws in the data that's been provided. Apparently, it was provided sometime last year. I believe all the data was accumulated back in the main time frame. Characteristic flaws. There's wetlands that extend from the Surrey Road extension into the development. In this package, there's no approval to go through those wetlands. Again, consequently, how can we act on it without approvals? It talks about a 16-inch metered main line from East Line and 8-inch line from Avondale to service the development. However, it doesn't say how that's going to work. Will the people on Avondale have lower water pressure, or will it be maintained? Is there adequacy? On page 12 of Exhibit B is really the most concerning aspect of their proposal. They contend that these homes will only house 2.5 individuals on average. Now, there's no mention in anything relating to Meadowview that this is going to be senior housing or one-story ranches. This whole proposal falls apart like a house of cards when you assume that they're providing a capability for water flow for 2.5 residents in each of those homes. The data that they provide, again, is very voluminous. It's very engineer-oriented, but the simple stuff is the things that really matter. And in this case, that underlying assumption makes this whole proposal fall apart like a house of cards. Finally, the site description and all of the attachments, all of the exhibits, always relate to a service to 119 acres. Clearly,
109, oh, acres, yeah.
119 acres, 119 homes, consequently, or ironically. The subdivision's going to capture about half of that. So the question is, what is the intent of the developer? Is the intent to service water for the open space that they've committed to for further development? It just doesn't sound right. And it's not addressed throughout the package. So where do we stand? Where do we go from here? My recommendation to the board is not to approve the water district, not to go forward with it, table it until all these concerns are addressed, and at this point in time, not act on it. One point that's confusing to me, the approval of this was initially on the agenda for this evening, and I noticed when I pulled it up this afternoon, it's not on the agenda. I'm curious as to why not. Secondly, two of the council members committed not to act on this until the traffic study for Miller Road was provided. So I'm also confused why this is on the agenda tonight as a public hearing. But thank you for your patience. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tom. We did pull those late. We thought it was in good taste to wait and act on them at our next meeting, so. Anybody else? On the Clifton Park Water Authority extension? No, then we will close that public hearing at 6:12. Next on our agenda, we have a presentation from Girl Scout Troop number 2227. Is that the ladies in the back? Oh, it was up there. There we go. You want to say, just say your names for the record for,
My name is Madden Reinders.
And I'm Rania Basharat.
We are from Troop 2227.
We are Girl Scouts in 8th grade at Gowanna Middle School.
We are currently working on our Silver Award project, in which we are hoping to build a Gaga Ball pit within one of your parks.
The goal of a Silver Award is to solve the root cause of a problem within the community.
We've noticed that within our community, teens and tweens have been lonely or bored at some parks due to the fact that there are not many things to do for their age group.
Our goal with the creation of the Gaga Ball pit in the park is to bring people of all ages together and help them bond in a low-stakes and fun atmosphere.
The Gaga Ball pit size will be 20 by 22 by 3 feet.
The materials we would use would be 2x4 wood planks, hinges, brackets, screws, waterproof paint, Gaga balls, and a ball holder.
We are hoping to have the pit in Shenandoah Creek Park, but if that is not possible, we could also make the Gaga Ball pit in another park.
We will utilize our building advisor, who is a licensed carpenter and can give us advice on building.
The wooden planks would be about $660.
The Gaga balls and storage tote would be about $75.
The event we will be hosting will be $200.
The hardware, which will be brackets, will be $620.
And the screws will be $20.
We will be paying for this Gaga Ball pit with $1,800 from 5 years of Girl Scout cookie sales.
We are also planning on hosting an event to help promote and help people learn about the pit.
We will also have a social media account to let people know about the progress of the pit and help to promote the upcoming event.
In June, we will start to build the Gaga Ball pit.
In July, we will finish the building of the Gaga Ball pit.
And hopefully at the end of July or early August, we will start the event.
Thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
well, first, I never even heard of a Gaga pit until the last Girl Scout troop wanted to build a Gaga pit, but so it seems to be something that is growing in popularity, and I think, that it probably would be a nice addition to our Shenandoah Park.
Do you need to raise $1,800?
Oh, we already have it from the 5 years of Girl Scout cookie sales.
So you. I'll give you a go right now, all right? Kristen, can we say yes or no?
Any other?
Great idea, I'm all for it.
Any other comments? I think, if you work with our Kristen Gottman, our Parks and Rec Director, I think we can say you can move forward. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so now we have another presentation by our our Open Space Agriculture Trails Committee. Michael Funk is the chair. He's here to do the presentation. I did leave handouts at everyone's station, so.
Again, what David gave us. It's just, if not, don't worry about it. Good evening, and thanks for the time on the agenda tonight. My name is Michael Funk. I live at 810 Malta Avenue Extension. I am the chairperson of the OATS Committee, and for those of you who are not familiar with that acronym, OATS is Open Space, Agriculture, and Trails. Before continuing, I'd like to introduce the volunteer members of the OATS Committee. Rachel and Brianna, if you could just raise your hands. And Joyce is traveling, so she couldn't be with us tonight. We also have some OATS staff members here tonight, Jamie O'Neill and Kristen Gottman. Our presentation concerns the unprecedented development of pressure that's facing Malta right now. It's endangering our cherished open spaces, our forests, our farmlands, and our scenic views. To address this urgent issue, the OATS Committee is proposing a campaign to preserve these vital resources by applying for county, state, and federal grant money that can be used to purchase conservation easements and would compensate property owners for conserving their land in perpetuity. Using the data generated by previous OATS committees, we've identified 3 priority zones in Malta. We're hoping to have it on the screen here, but I can describe it. It's Northeast Malta, the Brownell Road section of Malta, and Round Lake area of Malta. These 3 priority zones still have large rural parcels. And also, these areas are places of great interest and very attractive to builders who want to build large housing subdivisions. I should also mention that the 2024-2025 New York State Open Space Plan includes both Northeast Malta and the Round Lake area as areas that they would like to see preserved. So how did we select these properties? Well, there's about 65 parcels of interest in these 3 zones. The printout that the board has shows the largest 47 of these properties. Each of those is about 20 acres or more. There are smaller parcels that may be of interest to us, as they may be adjacent to some of the larger parcels. And perhaps there are 2 smaller parcels that would like to work together for an easement. To narrow our target list down to these 65 parcels, we filtered out those parcels that would likely not be eligible for a grant or have other pre-existing protections. And just to give you an example of 3 of the most obvious filters we used is any property that already has an easement, we're not going to reach out to them. A property that's constrained by wetland and is undevelopable by current DEC or town regulations, we're not reaching out to them. And then also a property that can't be developed further based on current zoning regulations, we're not going to reach out to them. There are some other filters we use, but those are the 3 most obvious ones. So how will we start the conversation with property owners in these priority zones? Well, by the middle of June, the targeted property owners will have received a letter asking if the property owner is interested in preserving their land. We were advised by Saratoga Plan, the county's land trust, to ask the interested landowners to fill out the attached, and they have a copy of it at the board. It's a 6-page pre-application form, and to return it. That completed pre-application form is going to give us valuable information about the property, and it's going to help us prioritize our choices. The OATS committee, the volunteer committee members, will follow the letter with calls to the letter recipients to gauge their interests and to help with any kind of questions they might have and to urge them to complete the application soon. So what's the process and the timeline? Well, there's a due diligence process that must be complied with to secure a grant. And securing grants are very, very competitive, and there's no guarantee that we're going to get any of these awards. The board has a copy of the easement due diligence fact sheet, but I'll give you a summary of the key points of that. We're asking for the receipt of the pre-application forms to be given to us by September 13th of this year. That's a Friday. We're asking that the property owners give us their final decision to empower Malta to apply for their conservation easement by December 13th, which is also a Friday. And then we're going to ask the town board to endorse our final selection by the end of January of 2025. I should also mention that getting these grants is very, very time consuming. There's a lot of steps to follow. And on average, it takes 2 to 3 years from the start of the process to the time where you actually get the check. The Oates Committee is going to send out a press release announcing this initiative prior to the letters being mailed out this June. And the last point I would mention is that the cost for mailing is estimated to be around $80. And so in the interest of preserving time, I've given you a quick overview. Do you have any questions? Anybody?
Thanks a lot, Michael. It looks like you and the committee have done a fair amount of work and research on this, and I think everybody up here, understands the value of protecting what open space we have left.
Okay. All right.
You looked like you were going to say something? No?
I'm going to wait
Okay.
to where it says board members. Then I got a long list.
This is, yeah, about this, you can speak during the, if you want to speak to it during the presentation.
Did you have a question?
No, Michael, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I'm interested in the residents' interest in following through this
So
to the end. In other words, December.
So basically, what they're asking of us is do we accept this path forward with sending out the request
That's
for
right.
information or interest to the landowners that they've identified, and I think later they're going to be asking for postage.
Right. That's it.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thanks, Michael. And all of the committee members for the hard work. With that, we conclude our presentations and our public hearings, so I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a little moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Now, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from our May 6th meeting.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I have no correspondence to report. Anybody else have any correspondence? And then we will move on to comments from town residents, in which you can basically speak about any topic you want. This is not a question and answer period, so if you find you have questions you want to be answered by this board, please send them in advance. Otherwise, we'll answer any questions at another time. We have a long agenda and a lot of people here, so I will ask you to try to limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less. Oh, somebody out there's got to want to talk. There we go.
Linda Noble, Luther Forest. I've been up here before. I've asked for the videos from all of the boards, planning board, and
Zoning.
have your board and everything. But all the boards so that the videos can be on YouTube and so that everybody who can't attend the meeting can see the videos. That's it.
Thanks, Linda. Anybody else?
always hear a heavy sigh when I get up. Nancy D'Onofrio, Luther Forest, Wineberry. So tonight, I would like to just, one of the things on the agenda is the easement public hearing, and we're all for it. We also have some significant concerns as we go into that public hearing that we would probably think to research before we go to the point of discussion of it. So, as a municipal building, we have this police barracks, and I want to just put in perspective for people, the Catskill Hudson headquarters that was just built was 5,000 square feet. We're anticipating this building to be 6,000 square feet in that piece of property. With that being said, the storm management ponds that are going to sit around that are going to really be on the outer edge, and they're not going to be contained as the development next door is going to be contained. I don't know if there's anything to be said about that except for the big mosquito ponds. I'm really kind of uncomfortable with a lot of water, excess water. I know we get a lot of excess water. Storm management is an issue in all of the areas in Luther Forest. Also, we're talking about this plan that looks very ominous to the Mayappa Way residents, with a lot of lighting and turnarounds and backup. The cars back up and they have beep, beep, beeps and everything that backs up that helps maintain this big building is going to beep, beep, beep. So we're going to have environmental concerns also for just noise pollution as well with this building. We were curious about, is there going to be a fence surrounding the entire parameter of the building? What is the height of the building? There's no legend on this building. Are they going to eventually move the 120, 140-foot frequency tower to the open space in the left-hand quadrant? And if that's something that they're going to do, that's going to be an issue for us as well. Lighting as well. It's going to be probably up and down lighting, but the development that's going adjacent to that, it's going to be very affected by that lighting because that whole parking lot needs to be 100% illuminated at all times for safety reasons because it is the state police. I know we're here tonight to talk about the easement. I did sidetrack off of that. That easement, that is the best proposal of the easement, which is item 1 on there, that there's already a storm and sanitary sewer lines, et cetera, and so on. That's a consolation prize for all of us. That preserves that corner of Partridge Drum. We're not here for a consolation prize. We're here to make sure that that barracks doesn't go there and that land is preserved and returned back to the town of Malta. When I read back in the 1977 PDD, when I foiled everything in sight, poor Jennifer had to do, that was a municipal building. A municipal building doesn't necessarily have to be a police barracks, okay? It could have been town hall. It could have been the community center. So what I want to also interject here is in 2011 and 12, a municipal building was proposed for that land. And in 2012, 400 people signed a petition against it, and they won. Now, when I reviewed those names on that petition, there was households that 3 and 4 and 5 people of that home, that household specifically, signed that petition. What we did, we went out electronically. We have 519 signatures electronically, and we have over 150 hand signatures, and we only took one person per household. So we have a lot more signatures against this petition, this building. And I want just to be perfectly clear, I know that the concession is to make choice A or choice B, but there's no choice. The choice is not to put it there. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nancy.
I am CK from Malta, New York, and I'm just saying, if you're sick, then you should come in here and start sneezing and coughing, and when you do, please cover your mouth or nose.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Linda Valenti. I'm 24 Maple Way. And I was here last week, or 2 weeks ago, whenever the last meeting, May 6th. There is some, looking at the minutes, it didn't accurately reflect what I had indicated at the time. I had talked about the different locations of the utility easement, and I did feel that the location on Dunning Street is the lesser of two evils. I'm not as, maybe I'm more cynical to feel that we are going to win, not having it located at the, where, affecting Dunning Street. I don't think that is the suitable location, and I believe I indicated that last time. But I do think at this point, the state will proceed with it, much to our chagrin. So I am indicating, and I know there are a few others, one who is on for Maple, Donna Kessler, that she feels that the 2 acres closer to the development is preferable, and that the location of the easement, if it comes to pass, that it should be on Dunning Street or with a trail, and having the state police correct that. But if there's a public hearing, it would be nice to have, which I believe I mentioned before, is for the state police to make an appearance, because I don't think we know that they have not really responded to the residents. And there are concerns as to the height, the location of the lighting issues and things of that nature. I mean, those are real concerns to the property owners of Maple Way and to the Luther Forest, as well as the tower. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? All you people just came out tonight to listen to us, huh? Oh, now I've got 2. I encouraged others.
Andrew Bodine, Wineberry Lane. In seeing the site plan, I feel really bad for the folks who live on Mayapple, because that little hook that they're building on the back side of that barracks, that's for a dumpster. That means that the poor residents of Mayapple are most likely getting a 5 o'clock wake up from the garbage truck emptying the dumpster. It's an inappropriate place. Also, there's no reason for them to be that close to the backs of the Mayapple houses. Is the state also then responsible for all the blowdown trees that are going to come tumbling down into the back of Mayapple? They'll deny it. I also don't understand how you can put a commercial building or commercial type building in an area that's got a residential zoning on it. I'm very frustrated with this process, and the fact that nobody from the state appears to be listening. Like Linda said, the state police aren't here to have their voice heard. I'm all for having the state police remain in Malta, but that is not an appropriate location to put the state police barracks abutted up against residential. That's all I have.
Thank you.
My name is Susan Nuttall. I live in Luther Forest. I think one of my biggest concerns, questions for the state would be, as we all have a lot for them, is that when this initial presentation was given by Captain Latardo in 2020, one of the things he stated was that he wanted a 6,000 square foot building with ample parking for room for expansion. I'm not comfortable with what that means. We can't seem to get any indication of what expansion exactly means. Are there going to be other entities brought in there? And that's a huge concern, and it should be to anybody in that area. So aside from all the traffic and everything else that's a mess over there now, and it's only going to get compounded on that 2-lane road, the possibility of the police cars speeding in and out, which we were told could happen on some occasions, although they're not planning on it happening on a regular basis. If there's expansion in there, aside from all the other issues, I just see it as a really unsafe and not a great location at all. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody else? Well, thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is comments from the town board, and I have several. First of all, Saturday, we had our Armed Forces Parade, and it was well, fabulous. Everything worked out well. We had the Malta Mile first, quite a few runners, I think probably a record number of runners. I don't know how many there were. The weather held off for us, and pulling something off of this magnitude is not an easy feat. It is managed mostly by our Director of Parks and Rec, Kristen Gottman, so fabulous job. But it also can't be done without a lot of work from a lot of other people. Both our highway and our maintenance departments provided personnel to help manage the situation. Our community emergency response team, an all-volunteer group, helped to manage some of the traffic, or lack of thereof, keeping people from going out into our parade. It also involves the many volunteers who actually participated in the parade. So it takes a lot of hands to make such a fun event, and it turned out to be great, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Next, I want to commend some members of our planning staff who took it upon themselves to help our extremely busy maintenance staff in some weeding and spiffing up of our building here and planting some flowers to make it look nice in advance of our parade, and so that you can enjoy it on the way in this evening. So thank you for taking time out of your busy days. I want to announce that the Old Post Road repairs are complete. The road's back open again. We thought it was going to take 3 weeks, but because of the weather holding off and the diligent work, it only took 2 weeks. So that's a repair that's been needing to be done for many years. So Old Post Road should be safe again, as safe as it can be. We are having another informational session about the Saratoga Water Services possible purchase by the town of Malta. That informational session will be at the Malta Community Center on June 1st. That's a Saturday at 9 a.m. I encourage anyone who's living in the district or has any questions about the district to please attend. Our last one here in this building was well attended, and I think people were satisfied that their questions were answered. So please try to attend. If you can't make it, feel free to reach out to my office, and can set up something so that you can have whatever information you need. The other thing is to note that there is voting for the Ballston Spa School District. Well, all school districts in New York State vote on their budgets and their proposals and their town board members. And that's tomorrow. The voting for the Ballston Spa School District in Malta will be here in this room. So I encourage everyone to go vote for your local school budgets. And that's all I have.
I got a few. First off, I would like to, Matt McLaughlin, the councilman who's not here today, had a family medical issue. All is well, but he wanted to give me his condolences not being here today. So, Matt, we miss you, and everything goes well at your family. Past practices where there was a public hearing, and then in the same day, a resolution acted on it, That is something that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't happen, because that's just, that's almost giving lip service to let people speak, and then we're giving a resolution on the same day. I think we're getting away from that practice. I'm all for the Gaga ball pit. Don't really need the speed study on Miller Road to say that I'm against the Mountain View project being built and everything associated with it. That's where I stand. I got a lot of constituents. I haven't found a person yet to raise their hand who says they're in favor of it. Anyone in favor of it, please raise your hand so I could see. There's probably about 2 people, Mr. Mitchell and the developer. So I'm going to side with all the residents. Dear Jen does a great job, and unfortunately, our video streaming was down last meeting, and our minutes are not transcripts, but minutes. So, I do know you've been busy a lot with a lot of FOIL requests, and the more we can give to the public with our video streaming, the better off we are. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
Yes, I'd just like to add to your statement about the school board vote and budget tomorrow. The voting is 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
yep.
And that, again, is in here. That's for only the Ballston Spa. So I'm going to look over who's, for the Shen District, Rick Hanley, did they vote at the campus or? At the campus, So Malta is a incredibly confusing place to live. If you don't know what school district you're in, I hope you'll find out and go vote tomorrow. Thank you.
School district, zip code.
Telephone.
Yep, telephones. Thank you, Barbara. If there's no other comments, we'll move on to our action items. The first one is, as we discussed earlier, we decided to set a public hearing to allow residents to weigh in on the utility easement for the state police barracks construction. Oh, and we'll set that meeting for our next meeting, or that public hearing for our next meeting, which is on June 3rd. Can I entertain a motion?
So forward.
Second.
Hey, Cynthia, before you act, there's one typo. In the first whereas, the SBL number shouldn't be 229-6. It should be 229-3-47.
Okay, 229-3.
So if you could get a motion to amend the resolution.
Can I have a motion to amend the resolution? In a second?
Second.
Any discussion? So all in favor of amending the resolution?
All right.
Aye.
And then do we need another motion to put
No,
on the amended resolution? So the resolution
okay.
amended. Now I can ask is, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed. The next two deal with the purchase of Saratoga Water Services. We want to set, the first referendum is to set the time and location, the date, the time, and location of the referendum. It will be on July 1st. The referendum will take place here in Town Hall, and the hours for voting will be 11 to 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
If I can just add a little bit about it, the people that will be allowed to vote are basically owners within the district. So if you are joint tenants of your home, as my husband and I are, we both can vote. A business only gets one vote. So any corporations or LLC would get one vote. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, if you haven't been to the public session question and answer on that, I highly advise that you do. That's on June.
June 1st at the community center, 9 a.m.
Really informative. There's good dialogue going back and forth, so I highly encourage anybody that has to vote to go to that session first.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next resolution is we have to have election inspectors for referendum, and so this next resolution appoints 4 experienced election inspectors. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now we have our first item for discussion. These are just items that we are going to discuss tonight, and no action will be taken. The first one is we've had several requests for maintenance items in our court building from an employee. It's, so everybody agrees that we've talked to, which is our maintenance, our stormwater, planning, and code enforcement, agrees that drainage over there isn't just as simple as diverting the water elsewhere. That building needs a lot of extensive work. There's been a lot of discussion, and there was actually a study that was done with the previous administration that details this complex and the facilities and details issues that need to be addressed. We all agree we have a space issue, that we are kind of all on top of each other. At one point, there was a discussion of actually replacing the court and tearing that building down. So I really think that before we make any decisions about any maintenance for that, we should make some sort of, I'm suggesting that we have a workshop and make concrete decisions about our facilities and where we're going to go with them before we put a new roof on, a new parking lot, and all of that. If the building ultimately is going to be abandoned, then I think it's a waste of money to make improvements now. So I'm proposing that we actually have a workshop where we sit down and evaluate what we want to
Feeling on
do.
that pond over there, before we get a lifeguard stand on it that blocks the handicap, we divert the water into a small 4-inch graded area on the side of the sidewalk, so people in wheelchairs do not have to go through it before accessing the handicap ramp. It is a code violation, and we should make some attempt with a small amount of dollars and a small amount of hourly help to change the grade of that area and let it disperse into the sandy soil. That's my opinion. Don't put a lot of dollars into it, but help try to solve the problem.
I think the thing is, everybody agrees that, the others that actually understand this process far better than I do, don't think that will be a solution, that it will create a problem elsewhere.
You know what? Doing nothing doesn't help it either. It's been how many?
No, I don't think we're saying doing anything. A workshop is to come up with a resolution, a course of action. To be a little bit more clarity is what we're really mostly talking about is the wheelchair ramp to be ADA compliant. And it is, except for it is blocked and or not accessible during severe inclement weather, because that's the low drainage area, and then it's a big pond puddle, and that would preclude someone using a wheelchair to get into it. Right now, it's fine, but significant weather, and make sure we don't put snow there either. So it's not the best where it's a all-weather ramp, as they say, is the biggest concern we got with that location of the ramp and access into the court building to get a wheelchair into the courthouse, because you can't come in through the front door, is our biggest problem.
Just simple steps doesn't mean no steps after several years. And planning reviews and ADA compliance issues.
Are you guys?
I'm all favor in workshop.
Okay. So I'll have Melissa my secretary, try to
Yeah,
set up a
we don't
time
need
for
to
a
make a
workshop.
date right now, but this, amongst the board members, we can set a date and get an email and post it on the webpage.
I am not in favor of doing other extensive hired out study. I think we know our properties better than any engineers. And we just gotta put our heads down and do something about it. I think there's other easier paths than just knocking it down, putting up a new structure.
And I may agree with that. I think, but again, I think it's something that we all need to really look at. Everybody needs to spend a little time with the report that was prepared by the previous town board. And I think we need to look comprehensively about what our needs here are as a facility. So I'm glad to hear everybody wants to have that. And, you know, Craig, as far as that drainage thing goes, you know, I don't know. It's been flagged now. I haven't gone over there to look to see where the utilities are.
Got a lot of photographs of it,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I know it's bad.
to be honest, it is a violation. And we cite others for codes that they don't comply, and we should be complying with our own codes. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about spending.
I think
a
we
lot
all
of
agree, Craig, that it needs to be fixed. We're
very
not
simple
arguing with you on that.
money that corrects the drainage into the soil. End of story.
We'll go over and take a look at it. Like I say, everybody
I
else
even
says that
offered
that
to
won't
do
be
it,
solved. Well,
as a matter of fact. I got no response from that, which I understand.
I don't want to see you out there with a shovel, Craig.
What's that?
I don't want to see you out there with a shovel.
Oh, come on, Cynthia. Join me.
Okay, so we'll try to schedule a workshop, and then we'll try to get some concrete discussion, so. The next, we did receive a proposal from our town designated engineer, Labella, to do a safety audit for Miller Road and Ruley Road. The scope basically includes a traffic study, roadway review, crash data, intersection site distance, traffic control evaluation, and report preparation. The safety study is a lump sum of $13,200. The speed limit analysis, if requested, which we believe the state actually is going to do that, is another $1,900. And then there's some project meetings. So the total cost was almost $16,000. I think, in my opinion, if we decide to move forward with this, I have no idea what the rest of my colleagues think. I would say we just do the safety study, because the rest of it hopefully will be looked at by the state. So
I've been informed that there was a safety traffic study done on that not too long ago.
there was one done for, I believe, Ruler Road.
I think that was in
Time ago.
2019.
Yeah. It did not include Miller Road.
Well, that's half of it anyway, so.
Yeah. I have.
But
I have requested that the county look at the traffic signal. I haven't heard anything back from that.
I would hate, to, someone's ship can come in, and we're still waiting on the determination for Miller Road for reducing the speed reduction on that road. So I guess the next question is, if they reduce the speed on that road, then we need to spend $16,000 on a safety study if our ultimate goal was reduce that speed on that. So I'm kind of inclined not to spend that money until I hear the first answer and not have two things concurrently, because then, in a sense, we just wasted all this time getting the Department of Transportation to reduce the speed if we're just going to put a stop sign at Ivy Road is the most we could do on an intersection for $16,000. So a lot of discussion has to go on that and thought before we just pull the trigger on in my view. I'm all for reducing the speed at Miller Road. There ain't no doubt about it. But I don't want to get the cart in front of the horse either.
I mean, my concern about reducing the speed, and I've said this before, is we can reduce the speed, but without enforcement, it's kind of meaningless.
Well, I understand we got speed
Yeah.
limit signs on every road that we're on.
Yep.
So we were all subject to the speed
We
limit.
do have 2 weeks now between this meeting and our following meeting. We'll try to follow up with the DOT and see if,
I guess that's, since it's the right answer, to find out, are they ever gonna get to it? That 18 months is coming up real fast with the normal proceedings of turnaround time. Are they gonna beat that, or are they gonna, you gotta get something from them, I think, would be the proper the first question.
So the safety study is in regards to putting up the four-way stop sign and the crosswalks?
I mean, it doesn't say specifically. It would give whatever recommendations. I mean, we did ask that they, as part of the scope of services, that they, evaluate what safety measures can or should be taken.
Because I asked them, when I called Tom up, to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. Don't pack the bill.
Right, I think that's what they've done here. It's
And
not,
I think that we
it's
should.
pretty straightforward.
$16
What are the
straightforward, it
stop
looks a little.
signs and the crosswalks at this point to show that we are concerned about the safety? It shouldn't take years.
Well, you'll have 2 weeks to think about this, because we're, of course, are not acting on anything, and I'll try to find out what I can from the DOT between now and then, and see how they're proceeding. Like I say, it says that they're gonna evaluate the following intersections: Miller Road, Ivy Court, Glen Eagles, Miller Road.
Have they,
Road South.
you said they provided you with an estimate?
Yes.
Is that broken down, what the scope of work is on that? So I could see what they're,
I would just like to add one comment.
Charge us.
While I don't want to lose track of the Miller Road issue,
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think it's important to keep on top of that. But we do also know a new chip plant's coming. We look at our neighbors to the west of us. There is development happening at a great speed. And I think it might be time to collaborate with the county to maybe do an overall traffic study. Malta is between everybody else and the Northway, whether you're going north or south. It's not going to get better. And I think maybe a traffic study that could help us countywide direct the flow of traffic in ways that protect neighborhoods to the greatest extent possible and are efficient access and egress from the Northway exits.
They actually had a traffic study done by the county before Fab 1, and it directed the conversations to the most backed-up intersections throughout the county. Maybe they should revisit that, because they haven't done anything since then.
As I said, we all know it's not going to get better. And Malta, it's both a curse and a blessing. We have the 3 Northway exits, but it means everybody's got to come here to get to work.
well, can I tell you what I found out so far, reading for 2 seconds? Scope, they should be paying me this morning, geez. Crash data they're gonna get from the New York State Department of Transportation. They're gonna do the site distance between Miller Road and Ivory Court. Traffic control evaluation, traffic data collected in task A and D will be used to evaluate potential traffic control, common operations, enhance safety for pedestrians, and lower travel speeds on Miller Road. And then report that to us. That's a lot of money for common sense questions right there.
That's only $13,000.
I know, and I could answer them right now for you. Anyhow, we need to discuss it more. We need to see where the Department of Transportation, where they're at in our initial request to reduce the speed limit on Miller Road. We need to find that answer first, and I'll help you, Cynthia, to get that answer and hunt down some phone numbers and see where we're at.
I've also been told that the GPSs that are coming down on East Line are directing traffic down Miller Road and Ruley. Is there any way we can call who's ever responsible to change that.
Who's responsible for GPS?
We can't even figure out.
wouldn't even
who's
know.
doing the
Yeah.
maintenance around here.
Yeah.
We can blame IA.
My point is that would be a lot
Yeah.
less costly
Yeah,
than doing anything else, and more effective also.
it is surprising to me why they would do that, but
I don't know who you call or,
I think it's the local traffic that's using those roads. I don't think people are transversing. People from Boston Spa know exactly how to get to Albany or to Saratoga, you know, and,
I think a lot of it is, and I think that's a lot of the problem on Miller Road is that it's a road that's not really designed for the volume of traffic. And a lot of that is because of the development that's going on the other side of our border. And we have no control over that. But again, I think improving the functioning of that traffic light might also improve if we can, somehow we have to deter traffic from actually going on Miller Road, and I don't know what the solution for that is. Reducing the speed limit obviously is something. So, that's why,
the radar signs have helped.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, they slow down. They see the sign, they slow down, they speed back up again. So, some of them just speed up to go by just to be annoying. So,
Well, it's more
yep,
than anything else that's happened down there, so.
yeah, true. But we can, I'll have to ask you to wait to comment. There's another public comment period at the end of the meeting, so, and then we welcome your comments. So think about that. You got a couple of weeks. We'll see what we can find out from the DOT, and we'll make that decision later. The other, next thing on the agenda is, ever since I've taken office, I've been asked by staff to review our handbook. Our handbook was written quite some time ago and has been updated through the years, but never really looked at as a whole, and, update. There's a lot of things that are current now that are not even addressed in it, like cybersecurity. So we sent out for a proposal for services it's twofold. One part of it is to actually review and recommend updating for the entire handbook, the employee handbook, and that the fee for those services would be $2,500. The second part is basically a retainer, ongoing services for regular personnel issues, things like interpretation of our policies and procedures, making sure that we follow regulations of civil service law, the Fair Labor Standards Act, ADA, family medical leave. As it stands now, the personnel issues are basically being handled by myself and the comptroller and the town attorney, and none of us are really employment experts. So with that scope of services, that is a retainer of $800 a month. So I'd ask that you review it, think about it, maybe talk to some staff and see why they think that we need this and I think that we need it. Take a little bit to look at the employee manual, because you'll see that in a lot of cases it's hard to understand. When we were trying to update the website policy, it was confusing. So, anybody have any comments on that right now, or?
Does this address some of the employment and salaries also?
Not really salaries, not salaries.
No?
But employment issues that we currently, not necessarily frequently, but that we run up against. Just employment questions.
Just asking.
Yeah. So you all have copies of all of this in your pack, in your website, and in your email. The next two things, our comptroller is requesting that we approve contracts for a utility, an energy audit, and a cable franchise audit. Basically, they'll go through all of our previous accounts and find where maybe we've been overcharged for something, or where we can do savings. It's at, I believe, no cost to us, right? Right. If we get a refund, they take part of the refund. So it's, you know, that I.
Who is that
reason not to.
sponsored by?
Troy and Banks is the name of the company. Yeah. So we kind of think it's time to do it again.
That's right. I recall that.
The next item on the agenda is the highway superintendent has requested that we create a new seasonal position for him, a highway seasonal laborer. You have the job description in your information, and so I'm requesting that we actually entertain that next week. The next, I should move this up farther on the agenda, because this will require some discussion. Our code enforcement has requested that we institute a policy and allow them to wear body-worn cameras. And it kind of all started because one of the apartment complexes in town wants to require that our code enforcement wear body cams when they do inspections. And so it was brought to our attention that we need some sort of policy for this, and you have the policy. I'd ask you to look it over and see what you think about it. Again, we're not going to act on it, but if we decide to move forward with this, we'll need a resolution to accept it as a policy. Anybody have any? I mean, it's a whole policy about when to wear it and when you can turn it off. It tries to protect, they've made an effort to try to protect the privacy of residents. If they're in a private residence, the resident can request that it be turned off. Any minor, if there's a minor under the age of 18 with no parent present to give the consent, they have to turn it off. And in any place of heightened privacy concerns, such as restrooms, dressing rooms, and locker rooms, we don't need them recording in there. It states, it goes through the preservation and recording of the equipment, how long we have to hand it, they need training. Review of the recordings, you can't really review the recordings unless there's an incident. So we will be hopefully acting on that at our next meeting. Any questions? The last thing is just a housekeeping item. The town clerks want to go to, or the court clerks, I'm sorry, want to attend the New York Association of Magistrates Court Clerks Annual Training Conference. And so we'll have a resolution next week to approve their attendance in there. So that concludes our regular agenda. Now is the time for any additional comments from the public.
Hi, Kate Hofer, Miller Road. I just wanted to make a couple comments on the Miller Road safety audit. A couple things that I heard. First, I heard that the ultimate goal is to reduce the speed on Miller Road. I would say that's grossly inaccurate. The ultimate goal is to make Miller Road safe for residents and pedestrians. And as Cynthia said, reducing the speed limit with without it being enforced will not increase the safety.
Yes, figuratively speaking, I wanted to ultimately reduce the speed so everyone's safety will increase. So it's not, yes, safety first.
Okay, thank you.
that's the play on words on,
I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that our goal is to make this road safe. We also know that there's going to be increased traffic from future development within our own town and bordering towns. Just this morning, my husband, as he was trying to leave, the sign said 77. Wow. So while in theory they're collecting data that I haven't actually been able to analyze because it's all pre-digested before we get it, so it's fairly not usable. It shows the residents how fast people are going, and they don't care, and I don't think they're effective. I'd also, do we know definitively that the state is going to conduct a safety study? Or a traffic study? Sounds like you're going to find out, but I don't think that we should vote on anything without them definitively saying if they are or are not going to conduct that study.
They accepted our request. They did not deny our request when we submitted it. So we were just waiting on the response back. So when we gave the request, they didn't reject the request. They accepted it, and they put it in their queue.
And the request specifically asked for a traffic study?
The request was to reduce the speed. Per the regulations of the Highway and Uniform Code, a safety study has to be conducted by a certified traffic engineer. It's part of the step, even to include what the safety order that we're doing to put up a stop sign requests a certified traffic engineer is part of any process to do any speed control measure on the road.
Okay, and so I also heard you say that you didn't want to waste money if the state was going to reduce the speed. But it doesn't sound like you would still be able to put up a stop sign or a crosswalk based on that study. And we have determined that reducing the speed is not going to increase safety because it won't be enforced. So we still won't have increased safety because we won't be able to put up any sort of stop signs or crosswalks.
You don't know what the safety study says right now, but I am definitely not in favor of every neighborhood town resident coming up and says they want a reduced or a stop sign, and we pay $18,000 per road. That's the requirement, and then we have to enact on that. So fiscally responsibly, the town's not going to be able to support that. So if we got a safety request study, an initial of reducing the speed, and or they might, I don't know what their safety study is going to say, if it says to add a stop sign or not, but to say that if we do for one, we might be inclined to be having the next street come on up saying, hey, I want a stop sign here. And then once we open that, the Department of Transportation is going to, they've informed us that once we start doing the safety studies, they're no longer going to do it for us. It's a catch-22.
I understand that. I also know that I've been coming here for a year and a half, and I've never heard any other resident complain about the speed and safety of their road continuously for a year and a half. So I think the argument of what we do for one, we have to do for the other, no one else is asking. And just my last point.
I've had some people come here and ask me to reduce their speeds on their thing. And usually, once someone gets it, that's when everything else says, if they got theirs, I want mine. So I don't want to get into, who should get and who should not, because everyone deserves to have safe streets throughout the whole town. I agree with you on that.
Okay, thank you. My last point is that the study would not just look at stop signs. It could yield other recommendations or learnings other than just stop signs. So I think that, waiting on the state, it's, like you said, it's about a year and a half. How much longer do we have to wait? And it's not going to yield the results, but this study could yield other results and could have other suggestions other than just stop signs and crosswalks that could increase the safety of our road. Thank you for continuing to keep the residents of Miller Road top priority.
Thanks, Kate.
The stop sign, enact a stop sign, per the highway manual, can't be in place to control speed. So the Department of Transportation, if we pay for that study, are still going to have to say yes or no for the stop sign. The rumple strips and stuff like that, maybe not in the crosswalks, but the stop sign specifically says, I don't know what page.
But you, Cynthia, you also said that, sorry, I took a lot of notes and they're kind of all over the place. But you also said that we need to do something to reduce the volume. Stop signs are not meant to reduce the speed.
They're not used as a speed reduction device.
Right. We would use them as a deterrent, which would reduce the volume. But you won't add stop signs without a study. you won't do the state, or you won't do the study if the state will reduce the speed, but we can't add stop signs without a study. So we're kind of in this like catch-22.
If it was easy, it'd be done.
Well,
I gotcha.
I understand, but when, my husband almost gets hit bringing my son to the bike stop, I can't have my son ride to the bike because I don't want him to die on the way to school. Yeah, I'm going to keep coming here until something.
No one says you shouldn't come here.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Lieberman?
Hi, Lawrence Lieberman, Luther Forest. I continually pass by the Dunning Place development and feel very sad that this has happened. I'm not quite sure why it's happened in this way, considering that there's a form-based code and an environmental study with it that requires very specific reasons why this type of development shouldn't have happened. I see the deforestation of a beautiful forest area. I know it was private land and it could be developed, but it still makes me very sad. And I'm not quite sure why the board approved it, considering what I hear over and over again, that the town wants to protect green spaces and forested areas. There was a meeting with the DeGraff Bloom builders, and at that meeting, they expressed concern that a police barracks is going to be backed up to the homes that they're building. And I continue to have great questions about the police barracks being built at the gateway to the community of Luther Forest. It's going to create increased traffic there, loss of, obviously, the forested space that's there. It's going to create issues for the people who now live there on Mayapple Way. There's going to be 24-hour lighting that they're going to be exposed to. There's going to be a communication tower. And from that tower, there may be emitting EMFs, which are linked to cancer, right in a residential community, putting everybody who lives there at risk for their health. There's dangers from walking on that walking path that's now there in front of, on Dunning Place. When you have the increased traffic now from the Dunning Place development and now a police barracks, how many cars are going to be able to drive there safely? There have been offers for other locations for the police barracks, and we all want the police barracks to remain in Malta. But we would like it to be located at a much more usable space, one where the police can really access the main roads that are in the town, not in front of a residential community. So, thank you for listening. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman.
Hello, Justin Martin, 4 Miller Road. I think as you've seen and heard, it's been pretty lengthy progress, a year and a half. I've heard kind of mixed opinions on both sides of the board. You know, in this time, I've welcomed a child. He's already 2.5 months old. I'm an avid biker. You know, we've walked the road with the stroller. It's pretty narrow. Cars do move over, but they don't really care about their speed. So we've identified like speed signs aren't going to be a deterrent for making the road safe. But, you know, it's really dragging out. And I think, you know, as a taxpayer, we're already identifying that our roads are not keeping up with the developments. So if there's more influx of money to come in, you know, I would think we can use those funds accordingly and make educated decisions here. Like, the road's unsafe. We need to do something about it. It's dragging out. I don't want to be here for years and having to drop my kid off 5 years from now when he can, hopefully sooner than that, ride a bike to the elementary school. So I really appreciate if we could kind of use some common sense here, spend some money where we need to spend money. We're not asking to build sidewalks and do crazy things, but we need to do deterrents to make the flow of traffic go where it's supposed to go through those roundabouts and staying on the roads that are 55, not our road that's 40, which until these studies get approved and done by whoever, we can confirm what those are. So just ask everyone to use some common sense here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm inclined to go with a study if the Department of Transportation is going to stonewall us and not give us anything. I'm just trying to do my due diligence on this, you know, because it is a problem, and I know it's a problem. And I live off Ruley Road, and I see people speeding all the time, too. And it's problematic what Ballston Spa had developed over there. And us trying to get a roundabout at 67 and East Line, that didn't we drop a big amount of money on a study for that?
We got the grant money for it.
Grant money and Ballston Spa didn't want to participate in, kind of leaves us a little hamstrung on that, because that's the crux of most of our problems right there. But I agree with you.
Hi, I'm Wes Kesmarek, Miller Road also. I imagine you were pretty tired of hearing Miller. But anyway, I have some comments. In addition to some of the possible actions that were already been discussed regarding safety and traffic control on Miller, I asked the board to review and reconsider the lockable barrier that is being proposed for the Mountain View Estates / Avondale connection. Right now, as I understand it, there will be a lockable barrier that will be opened only for emergency vehicles. Okay? If we're looking to reduce volume on Miller, one way we can do it is by making that an active road. I'm sure the people from Avondale are not going to be happy. However, that would serve to reduce volume on Miller and provide the people in Avondale an alternative route from East Line. So Avondale, unlike Miller, is much more pedestrian friendly. If you've driven through that development, you can see that they have wide roads, they have setback sidewalks, and there are no ditches, unlike Miller. On a related item, somebody mentioned rumble strips. I can tell you from personal experience that if you've had the pleasure of living near one of those, you'll have not only traffic noise, but 24/7, 24 hours a day noise to go with that traffic noise. It's bad enough to listen to that traffic, but now we're going to add additional noise. One other thing, has anybody mentioned or even considered some of these removable humps that Round Lake utilizes in their village? I know that Roger was not a fan of having any kind of rumble strip or impediment to plowing, but these are removable and can be placed at stop signs if that's what we decide to do. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name's Laura Sheehan. I'm going to try to keep it short, or I am going to keep it short. I contacted some of you via email, and you responded to me, and that's awesome. The reason I'm asking here is I guess what I'm asking is there any way to contact the state and have them respond to us? This is about the Luther Forest Barracks issue. Not getting any response back. You guys responded. That's what we need. I need to hear from them why they think this is important, why this location is important. They're not contacting us. There's no information coming back. Is there anything that you can do to make that happen?
I will ask them. They have said to me that they are listening very careful to the feedback that are given in public sessions, site plans that they've said are out there. They don't know how they got out there, who created them. They are watching carefully, and I'll ask them.
Okay, it would have been nice if we could have spoken to them 3 years ago too. There was none of that conversation happening within the town, and that's disappointing. So mostly I'd just like to say thank you for those of you that did respond to me. So
I'll ask them.
thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to, CLK, Malta, New York. I would like to know that if you do get all these studies for lowering the speed limit, can they lower it from, like you got it here at 30 miles an hour and run it all the way up to that sign where the Malta, or what is it, the mobile is at exit 13's right there, and let Toga take the 55 miles an hour? How's that instead of here? Because I have complained before about the noise and the people racing their motorcycles and doing 60 and 70 miles an hour right through the valley, right past the Malta drive-ins and up and through. And I know because one of them lives in Steeplechase.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I forgot to say thank you.
Evening, everybody. Pat Regan, Wineberry. I guess I kind of wanted to piggyback off of what she had said, which is, I'm sure you guys are getting tired of hearing us come in week after week, month after month, complaining to you about the police barracks. It's tiring. It's tiring for me to hear it. And I'm not even the one that's getting talked to. So I think, honestly, it's frustrating because you guys can't do too much. You guys are in a position now where you've already passed it. You can't go back in time and change that. So the only thing really that can be done at this point is what she had said, which is, again, not just Craig, because I understand, Craig, that you must have some connection to the state police. But maybe as either a representative of the town board or Cynthia with you, in assistance with you, go into the state police at the very minimum. I agree with Linda, probably at this point, I hate to say it, it's probably going to happen. But at the very least, I'd like control over what they're putting in. And the only way to do that is to get them involved. And the only way to get them involved is we don't get any response. We call over and over and over and over, send letters to the governor, send letters to the state police. It's like we might as well throw them up in the air or burn them in the fireplace. Nothing's going on. Nothing happens. You guys are our representatives. You guys are the ones that have the power to then go to the government and force them, all right, I see you smiling, Craig, with that. I know you can't put a gun to their head.
Good Senator Tedesco sent the letter too to the governor on our behalf, and I don't think he's got a response back yet. So it's tough. I can't make people respond if they don't want
I
to.
know, I know, and I suspect that the governor is probably it's going to be really hard for her to be involved on such a small item in the state. But the state police is another story. State police, there is no reason why the state police could not come here, talk to us, tell us what their plans are, and have a discussion with us. So I'm hoping that you guys, as a board, can be involved with that. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nancy D'Onofrio Wineberry. I had a light bulb moment while you all were talking about the court drainage issue, okay? So be creative, town of Malta. Take down the court. Let the town allow the state police to build a building with expansion room for our court to be there. They don't have to drop people off back and forth, back and forth. It would be a one-stop shop for them, a convenience for them overall, and it would save the town money. You give them the opportunity to build the building with your input for the court system to be attached to it. They could build a 2-story building because it's a commercial area. I had the privilege of driving down south this weekend. I looked for every state police barracks that there was. There was not one in any residential area, and I drove over 150 miles. So that's all I have about that. I just actually came here tonight thinking I was going to speak about Mental Health Awareness Month, and I just want to make a very concerted effort to everybody in the audience as well as the board that people experience mental health issues that people do not recognize externally. And Saratoga County Mental Health has a clinic. They have recovery-oriented services for both substance abuse, and the Saratoga County Sheriff's Department will do Narcan training. I did not see much information on our front desk about mental health services and Wellspring, and I am very associated with Wellspring. I think I'm just going to make a request, and I know that's probably should be put in writing, that we have more information for people of the town for mental health awareness and domestic violence awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, I'm Town Justice Elwood Sloat, and I'm here on behalf of the court. Not as a resident, I'm here on behalf of the court. I've sent you messages in the last few weeks regarding ADA, Americans with Disability Act, issues over at the court. I have in front of me 2 documents, written documents, one from then Town Supervisor Vincent DeLucia, dated May 19th of 2017. And he was required to do a transition plan for the ADA. There was 3 steps to it. 1 step was done, and I haven't been able to locate the other 2 steps, so nothing was taken care of. Again, that's May 19th, 2017. September 27th, 2019, then, still Justice James Fawsey, Justice Stephen Gottman, and Chief Clerk Jane Curtis submitted a request for a new courthouse. In that request, they talked about the ADA non-compliance. There's numerous issues there, not just the water going to the ADA ramp that goes into the courtroom. There's other issues in the building. Recently, in the last 2 weeks, I asked for an ADA assessment of the building. I thought you were going to address that tonight because it needs to be done. I don't think that the federal government would close the court, but they can fine us up to $75,000 for not being in compliance. And it's well documented that the justices over there have asked for this to become a priority. I mean, this is 5-6 years, and it's not a priority. And now we're going to have a workshop. I would hope that that workshop is within the next week. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Judge. Anyone else? I will,
Mrs. Young, may I just ask a quick question? Mrs. Gottman, at the community center regarding the mental health issues, my recollection is that your staff has assembled quite an assortment of information about referrals for a variety of community needs. Would you be willing to perhaps sort out some of those and see what might be appropriate to add to the tables over here in response to Nancy's suggestion? Thank you.
thank you.
I'm Ruby Catalano. I live on Wineberry. As everybody who's spoken on behalf of the police barracks in Luther Forest, I agree with everybody, and that's been forefront on my mind. However, I was here a couple of weeks ago when Cindy from Pride in Saratoga spoke, and I love what she said, and I do feel strongly that it would be a wonderful thing to have a flag raised here. I know we're getting close to June, it's 2 weeks away, and obviously, I don't know if it was too late to put on the agenda. However, even if it's maybe done a couple weeks late, it would be a nice thing, and I think especially for younger people, there is a high incident of depression and suicide amongst younger people. And I think it would just show camaraderie and support. It would be a nice thing and just something positive to see. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I will then entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?